Right on now? Right on.
Welcome to Lunch Break.
We got caught off guard there, huh?
Yeah, I didn't know how long the intro was. My bad.
I wasn't.
But welcome. Grab your drink, grab some food. Join us today in Lunch Break. We're going to get into some good conversation. And as always, like, share, let some friends know what's
Never
going
too
on.
proud to do that, are we?
Not yet.
Yeah, because I think our guest today is Bart Tipton. A lot of you guys probably see Bart's face on the TV, internet. I get some flyers hung on my door sometimes, Bart. Bart's sign's quite popular in my neighborhood because he sells a lot of amazing homes. And so I get mail from Bart, and I think, oh, Bart's sending me something, it's coming from the office.
Yes, we'll be getting into a story. It started different, but it ends in real estate. There's a lot of things that you went through to get there, and
for sure.
Hopefully you guys can find some hope in that, and we can learn some more.
Yeah, and before we actually do that, J2, I want to remind everybody that we have Man Cave coming up. Man Cave is coming up. Man Cave happening this Saturday at 9 a.m. Bart's going to be there, and didn't want to forget that.
Northwest Campus. Tom, you're going to help me. Thank you for making that such a.
I saw Tom back there, and I'm like, why is he watching today? And now I know he had a plan.
Did we get you?
He got me good. I want to see my reaction.
I do too. He has the best reaction. So I just thought, well, Johnny Rizzo last night was kind of showing off because he got Hector a promo for Man Cave at East Brundage, and he was cooking some grub. And so I told him, I go, we got a one up on Hector Rizzo at the East Brundage campus, Man Cave. So. We just had to get you there, Jason.
So good. Well done, guys. I appreciate it. Yes, Man Cave is back, everybody.
Yep.
So fellas,
in person.
get there.
Yep, 9 a.m. So we advertise everything, Bart.
That's good.
We talk about connection, and I think that's probably one of the most important things I think people can miss out on is connecting with other human beings because there's so much available to you. I was reading through this book. I'm going to go ahead and bring the book up, Justin, if that's okay. It's in Tribal Influence, and it's called Chapter 3, The Power of Connection. It says, tribes can help you find your purpose. They can help you broaden the vision of that purpose and help you sustain it. And it's so true. So a lot of times we can find that in situations like this at church and at Man Cave.
Yeah.
And at small groups and Bible studies.
You'd be amazed at things you get through just because you simply learn that you're not alone in that struggle and someone else is going through it like you, someone like-minded.
Yeah. And sometimes just show up.
Yeah. So and it's always worth it. So we have a question from last week. What's the question?
The question last week came in form of an email, and it came in from our audience. Thank you for the questions. You can email me at pastortom@vbf.org.
jgreer@vbf.org, and we'll get back to you.
So this question came in 3 or 4 just different ways of asking something. Sometimes they say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so really what it was a few of our audience were, because it really was around Mike Green, our soldier, our veteran that was here last week who was injured and lost a limb over in Iraq. It was like, what are the steps to help me come out of a traumatic experience?
Yeah.
And I do believe each one of us are wired a certain way. And I always tell people that you have to really, if it's a loss of a person, because there again, we do a lot of funerals. And I've experienced this in my life because I lost a friend this year and I did his funeral at COVID. And as he died of COVID, his name was Jay Calhoun. When he was kind of estranged from us and we had, COVID, the lockdown. So when Jay passed away, one of my friends called me and said, what do you think, Tom? I go, well, I'm going to do his funeral. And I remember as even doing so many funerals, I've done my mom's funeral, I didn't do my dad's, I couldn't do my dad's. I had to remember that I needed to grieve. And I tell people when they have traumatic experiences, whatever it is that you have to set aside time to grieve. A lot of times when I did my mom's funeral, I had to write it all out, and my mom passed. I had to find time, and it wasn't before the funeral. I even told my daughters, they were sitting on the front row. I go, no one's crying right now because Dad's not going to be able to finish the celebration of life for my mom. But afterwards, we're going to really grieve. And I remember my daughter Tessa, she was like, ready to burst into tears. but she didn't. So I just tell people, if you ever experience a traumatic moment, you know, there is time that you need to grieve, especially the loss of a loved one or something like that. And in Mike's case with his arms, losing his arm, he said there was so much power in being with his brother and his mother.
Yes.
When he was going through that, and of course, he had his with his wife now, but his girlfriend then.
Yes, and that's what stood out to me in his story was his focus on recovery. I fully believe after that time, right after that time of grieving, it's now time to focus on your recovery and whatever you need to do to get yourself spiritually healthy. And for him, it was being around his family, and it bonded them. And if you're going through something traumatic, you have to find that thing.
Don't isolate.
That you're going to focus on, and who's going to be with you in your recovery process. And finally, that's more practical, but more spiritual. It sounds cliche, but you take it back to the cross. And when I'm facing something, when I feel like I'm stuck in a place where I can't overcome this, like the world is ending because I can't pay this bill or something, something is happening, right? When you get there, you have to remember that Jesus faced all of our sin on the cross. He faced death and overcame that. And that same spirit that was in him is now within us, so that these little obstacles that hit us in life aren't too big. And it's cliche, but it's very true. And if we can focus in on that, we can recover from these traumatic experiences as well.
I remember my wife when we were told that they were going to remove her colon. You know, that's a traumatic experience. And I knew for me, I had to be her advocate and her support. So I can't tell you how important it is to have an advocate, have a support system.
Yes.
When you're going through something traumatic. Because sometimes people want to withdraw. And that's the worst place to be in, is withdrawing from it. So what do you have to say, Bart? Any thoughts?
No, I agree with the whole thing, too. I think Justin hit it on the head, too. When I was growing up, do you want me going into the story?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Grew up in a really small town. It was like 1,300 people in Iowa, so wasn't a big metropolis. I had a brother and my parents. So my brother was born with a heart defect at birth. So it was difficult. I think a lot of probably growing up, unfortunately, I was kind of mad at God going, how could you do this? You know, this is so unfair, for
that's a natural response
child.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So that was tough. And I can't imagine what my parents were going through at the time too, because now being a parent, I'm like, that'd be devastating.
Yes.
So, just kind of the unfairness of that was just, had me questioning a lot of stuff. So my parents pretty much made us go to church, all of our childhood. I think, unfortunately, again, after I turned 18, I probably didn't step foot in the church for another 8 years.
That's
a lot of people.
And just
a lot of people.
I know better than anybody else type of thing. So teenager stuff, but learned really quick. I think probably about 25 years ago, my brother passed away. He was 26, and that was a really moving experience. I remember he's always had problems going to school or walking. He'd get out of breath a lot. So we'd walk to school, and he would get out of breath. When the day he passed away, I had a dream, which
that's right. It was the dream.
Yeah, it was the most
told me that.
vivid dream I think I've ever had. It was we were walking up, the hill to go to school. And he just said, "Hey, I can't go anymore. You can go on without me. It's okay." And I went, "Ooh." That's just right now. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it too. And that's when I was like, "There's, this God thing is real." I went. It really moved me, and almost scared me. So after that, it was awakening. So a couple of years, and then I found Jesus for good. I was saved, which was awesome. And then, every time that something happens like that, there's some weird stories too. He collected ladybugs, all, through his childhood. Every time something really wild happens in my life, there's a ladybug there.
No way, really?
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, the first Christmas I know my parents had, and we're Iowa, so it's cold. It's like 20 degrees below zero. First Christmas, they were taking the fake Christmas tree out of our basement, and lo and behold, 3 ladybugs come crawling out.
And that's
this is winter.
Yeah, they don't come out in the wintertime.
Yeah, no, there's no such thing in Iowa. So that was, an odd one, the very first Christmas. Yeah. I think my first time that my parents came out to visit me, flew out from Iowa. There was 3 seats on the plane. 2 of them were there. They looked over.
No way.
That's on an airplane.
Sometimes, and there again, to explain the spirituality of that I know is tough, but I think there's certain things that are touch points.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Where you're like, gosh, Lord, this is pretty cool moment.
Yeah, that was amazing, and it still happens, to this day. Whenever I see a
God has
ladybug.
his way of just keeping us going.
Well,
It does.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as we look at the audience and some of you out there who wrote those questions, it's trying to find God in those circumstances. Like the ladybugs or the dream, just to give you some comfort.
Yeah.
And I think God, the Bible in 2 Corinthians says He's a God of all comfort who will comfort us.
I have a very similar story. My nephew, who I helped raise, I was in high school, and my sister would be working 2 jobs, so I just raised my nephew basically. Get home from school, babysitting him, and he eventually died of pneumonia. I got a call. He's in the hospital. I was on the way to the hospital. I get there, everyone's crying. He passed away 5 years old. It broke me, right? Broke me. That night, I have a dream. He comes to me, and he looks like a grown man. He's like, in my head, the age is 22 that I saw, and he says, "Uncle, I'm okay. I'm with God, and He wants to hear from you." And that's really what shook my walk up a lot and got me back involved. I was like half in, half out at the time. And that dream, I attested to God. I don't care what anyone says. I give God the glory in that, because it really shook me up and got me to pursue God again. So I've had a similar experience, friend.
Well, so as we can say, sometimes we have to look for God to comfort in the trauma and those attacks. And sometimes the best places to go is maybe somebody that is has a little more years under their belt with Christianity, or maybe counseling or something like that would be able to help you through it. So make sure you take those steps to seek out help and look for God to comfort you in those circumstances. So
Yeah, definitely.
right on. So Bart, give us a little history. Well, no, J2, the question. Bart,
the question that we ask everyone, and we ask ourselves too. We put ourselves through it as well. But
Justin had way too much fun with me.
I did
last week.
Last week's was probably the most epic of all of them. But something that people may not know about you. Like, a lot of people know you, but they might not just know this fact about you or quirky thing. And you don't have to overthink it, but something new we can learn about you and the people watching.
I got a quirky thing. How's that?
There we go.
I like
Okay.
quirky stuff.
When I was in college, I rocked a mullet.
Did you really?
There's another thing with the hair thing. I was voted in my senior class in college best bottled bleach blonde. We got bored studying for finals. Me and my roommate both, we clear all our hair, bleached it. I mean, it fried to a crisp. So that's probably one of the reasons why I don't have any today. But
okay, I have to ask for the listeners, do we have a picture of this that we can later post?
I do, but no one's going to see it.
Oh, come on.
No.
You got to give it to
There's
us.
a very few minute audience that's ever seen
Justin is going to do a deep dive on this one.
I might become an
Good luck.
FBI agent.
Good luck.
I'm going to find this.
A mullet. I love that. Mullet's coming back in.
Not for me, unfortunately.
That's
My
opinion.
hairstyle, I think, is set in stone from now on.
Yeah. Well, Bart, tell us a little bit about, as you had life experiences, you went to college, and then this is a fascinating part of your story that I do know, is that you went to pharmaceutical school.
Yeah. I was a pharmacist. I ended up being a pharmacist for 20 years. So,
20 years.
Yeah. Whoa. That was a long time. And it wasn't the right fit for me. I mean, I drudged through it, and it was working fine, but I knew something wasn't right. It just
Interesting.
felt like I was in wrong pair of shoes or something the whole time. So
this is listeners. This is where you tune in. If you're in that job that you have not, you're not feeling it. He's going to start sharing a story of making the transition and how you can make it work. Yeah. So listen up.
Yeah. So
I love that analogy. In a pair of shoes, I always tell my girls that a size 8 foot's not bad, and a size 7.5 shoe's not bad. They're just not the right fit.
Yeah.
It's just not the right fit.
There's a lot of people in that where you were at for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll still keep still have my license. I do 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years, but I probably won't ever do it again. Don't have any, want to do it. So,
so you didn't think it was the right fit?
No, not whatsoever. And I was fortunate enough that my partner took over the business and I was able to get out. And I've always like, okay, now what am I going to do? I knew I didn't want to do that, but I was like, okay, what am I going to do?
So there wasn't like a plan B. Didn't want to go into plan A.
I kind of thought about it, but nothing set in stone. About 2 months passed. I was like, this is boring. So this is not what I really imagined what retired life was going to be like or anything like that. So
had you planned to retire or just planned to get into something else?
Kind of do both a little bit. So I knew I was going to do something. I'm just a worker bee. I'll work to the damn die.
Yeah, people need stuff.
And I'll like it.
Yeah. People need things to do.
Yeah, it is. I went in, took tests, and I thought, oh boy, I see all these real estate agents making all this fun stuff, and it's so easy, and it's not.
Grass always looks greener, doesn't it?
No, it's not. So I think it took me, after I got my license, it took about 8 months before I got my first paycheck. Not so successful. No, that was not so. I was going, what's going on here? This is tough.
As we stop there, people always take they, like you said, it looks great from the outside, and it does when you're on a vista or a summit.
Yeah.
But the valley is where life really lived at. Mm-hmm. That's where you have to pick traction. You have to get traction in those valleys.
Yeah, and I had a couple of valleys in the pharmacy too. I mean, when we were starting that, it was macaroni and cheese and hot dogs.
Top ramen.
Yeah, for the first 6 months until things started going. But
there you go.
Yeah, uncomfortable, but we did it. And then on the real estate side, it was tough. I started doubting myself. I was like, wow, what did I get myself into? Mm-hmm. I said, this wasn't exactly what I was planning on it. So it was just work. And I hate giving up. That's my big thing.
Was there a moment, like you said, you doubted yourself or what you chose? Was there a moment that things were just evident, no, there's a glimmer of hope?
Not so much.
No, wow.
Well,
so how did it turn out?
Good. I mean, I just started pounding the streets and knocking on doors, and I think my very first client was the one that was 102 degrees out, and I was out knocking on doors. They called me up afterwards and went, oh man, my husband felt so sorry for you. Your shirt was drenched with sweat, and it was. I'm a sweater. So even with T-shirts on, they went, we know you work hard. We want you to work with us. And I was like, that was it. So.
That's a good moment to stop on. That's a Selah moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Hard work.
Because a lot of people see you as the most, one of the most, if not the most successful in our town.
Yes, real estate agent.
So therefore, for them to hear that you had to grind, you were going door to door. A lot of people think, especially younger generation, think you just start at the top. Everyone.
Yes.
I don't
you got
know
a nice
why.
car. And because I see your picture on a handsome picture on a lot of signs, in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods. So, obviously that's a bit hard work. So
walking around sweating door to door, that's what it takes to make your business good.
Yeah. And it was a lot of, not fun moments, but I'm just stick with it. You're going to do it. I believe in myself. So it's just not giving up. That's my.
When you say you believe in yourself, have you always been an optimist or a pessimist, or have you had to kind of be your coach in your head and kind of push through things?
Probably a realist more than anything else, I guess. But it ended up, it also, like you said, it helps to surround yourself with other people, with cheerleaders. So that helps a whole bunch. Knowing that, hey, you've done this before, you can do it again.
Yeah.
Just don't say no. I think that's one of the biggest things about failure. Is the only time you fail is you give up.
Yeah.
So keep going.
So now that you're successful, and you now have that spiritual walk with you, how have you been able to intertwine the two?
I said, aside from the pharmacy part, I didn't get a lot of talking with people. I said, in real estate, that's all I do. So I could go out, I meet a lot of really neat, interesting people all day long. Everybody has a different story, and it's very interesting to hear what they have too. one of the things I always wear my, the
Jesus Strong.
Jesus Strong wristband wherever I go out there. And a lot of times, people, they'll bring, oh, hey, and then they get the conversation started. So that's really a neat place to go and start talking about Jesus and God and all that good stuff when you're out there. And it's amazing how many people,
respond to it.
Yeah.
So
It's like you would never know.
You got this from Bosco.
I did. Yeah. What was that about?
Bosco Wong. Bosco Wong, Jesus Strong. I have one on my.
That was at a man cave.
It was at Cal State Man Cave.
Oh, probably a year and a half ago. It was a while ago.
Like even longer.
Yeah.
But those little conversation starters, if you're ever trying to get Jesus in your outside world, in your workplace, school, a shirt here, a wristband, a book that you're showing that just says, hey, I'm a believer, sometimes it evangelizes for you because they ask the question and you're able to respond. And I know how hard it is to just walk up to someone boldly and go, hey, Jesus, and instantly they turn you
Right.
off. So like there are little methods like that we can all add into our lifestyles to help evangelize, honestly.
People love talking about Jesus and God. So, it's an easy subject to go to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. A lot of times I get my blood drawn, and it's not hard to find my veins. It's not hard to find our veins, and so they'll see the bracelet, and it'll start up a conversation. So it always, the Bible says, always be ready to give a account for your faith in God, and I think that's our opportunities like that. So
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of disappointment here and there too. The other week, we had a couple of deals went sour because of a bad appraisal. And, the big thing I kept on telling my clients, I went, if it's right, it's right. God has a plan.
I love that.
That it's so many times that, it's hard for me because I'm kind of a control freak every once in a while, giving it to God. That's difficult for me, but at least I have, my girlfriend, which happens to be our 4th year anniversary today. So she's out there. Hey, Tracy.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Tracy.
Yeah,
Right
very
on.
good. She's a doll.
Wonderful gal.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
You see you guys faithfully in the gym, working out.
Yeah.
We've got George in our audience today, district manager for Body Exchange.
There you go. I know
He was
George.
giving you a shout out there a minute ago. Glad to there again. If you're out there, you want to come join our studio audience, love to have you
please
guys.
do so.
Her support is incredible. She's got probably 2 requirements: be over 6 foot and love God.
Overachiever.
Yeah, and crazy.
He's 6. He's like 6'6", you guys.
I was telling Justin, you're going to look up to Bart.
Yeah, it's very humbling. I rarely have to be around someone taller than me. It drives me nuts.
That's why I screwed my chair down a little bit today. So, but no, again, support. That helps a ton.
It's interesting you said that because sometimes, like you think in your business, people are buying something or selling something, but there is some disappointment there, and it's pretty special when you could be there and be there to encourage them, like God's got a plan.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and hopefully they see that and move it. From hearing it from your real estate, of course you're going to hear it from your pastor or somebody in church, but to hear your real estate broker or salesman say that would be pretty impactful.
And I know there's people out there, if you're looking for a real estate agent that believes in the Lord, that was a big focal point in me and my wife's search. So sometimes that's the key factor in choosing who you're going to either have sell your house or purchase your house is, are they a believer? Because you don't want someone to put you in a house not listening to the Lord and now your family's at risk.
Do you want God on your side?
Yeah,
it's probably
it's
a good
big
thing,
deal. So
Prestige real estate. Was there a for a reason you named it Prestige, or how'd that come about?
Probably just because we kind of specialize in the higher end properties. So that's
There you go.
about it. So other than that, it's hard to come up with a logo, model, all that good stuff.
That wasn't the thing. It was, you guys are quality, it sounds like, over quantity. And, so definitely, if you guys are looking, make sure you check them out. I also want to know, is there any advice? Because I mentioned to you earlier in pre-production that I have, all of a sudden at 33, all my friends are wanting to dabble in real estate. And
do you see that a lot, Bart? When the market is doing well, people are like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's like they're seeing that vista. They're seeing that sunrise. And
everybody sees it being easy.
Yes.
Which it's not. It takes a lot of hard work.
And you've actually rode out a few of the downtrends, haven't you?
Basically one. That's when I started. That's why I was like, well, what am I doing here? So, half the homes or a third were foreclosures or short sales. And that didn't leave a lot of business for me because I wasn't in it. So I was like, whoa. Yeah.
So you got friends now that are getting into real
I have
estate.
friends who are getting into real estate, and if you can just, I mean, I'm sure that I'm hoping they're tuning in right now. So if you can tell them things to look out for, or things they're going to need to persevere through, any little advice you would give to a young 30-year-old who's trying to dabble,
or even someone who's trying to sell their homes.
Yeah. Hard work.
That's what it's going to take.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing comes easy. I mean, nothing ever kind of really has just fall in your lap. It's all nose to the grindstone.
Yeah. Well, I do believe as people, pursue their relationship with Christ, Jesus said, in the world you'll have tribulations, or in the world you'll have troubles, but take great joy of overcoming the world.
Yeah.
And Paul says that I forget what lies behind and press on to what's ahead of me. So have you had any of those areas besides real estate or pharmaceutical where you had to press on in your career, your life? You played basketball in college.
I did.
2 years.
Yep. That was fun. It served its time, but I knew I wasn't going to turn pro. So time to figure out plan B. And again, I don't like failing so much. So the time I think failing is giving up, but failed marriage. Yeah. That was tough. Very tough. I mean, I was trying experience to go through. And, when you're going through it yourself, you feel, oh, I'm the only one in the world doing this right now.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling a failure. I'm feeling, wow, what, just pour for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's hard to pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with good people.
Always that tribal influence, getting a tribe around you.
Yeah. And no, I mean, at the time it's like, well, why was God letting this happen? Well, how, I try, but after everything's done, it's like, oh, wow, this is it. I mean, I found a wonderful woman, bless her soul. So, and now I have no questions. I'm being the happiest person in my life, time of my life, awesome, great. So there's always a reason for something. Not that you know it at the time, because, I do still even question that, but wow.
It's a hard one to overcome, because in the Christian realm, when a divorce does take place, it's people just go into a dark place because it seems so frowned upon, and it's hard. It is hard to show. It feels like it's hard to show your face in a Christian community, even though if anyone's really rocking with Christ, they're not going to judge you. They're going to love you through that process and help you recover. But I can feel like if I were to go through that, the type of shame that would try to attack me. So it's cool to see you overcome that. And
Well, and I had a marriage of 10 years.
yeah. Yeah, that's another part of your path we don't get. What am I doing? Yes, because you have an exact testimony to this.
Well, it is that thing where you do feel like maybe you missed something or something wasn't right. And there again, we weren't believers when we were married, but it was interesting that my daughter Tessa, and I know she'll watch this, when she was probably 13 or 14, I had an issue with it because she said, Dad, I'm kind of disappointed in the fact that you've had a divorce. And I go, honey, I don't understand the question. So I had to, get her to rephrase it again. And I said, so what I think you're saying is, you think maybe I'm a hypocrite because now I'm against divorce, but I've had a divorce. She goes, yeah. And I go, well, honey, I didn't even know the Lord back then.
Exactly.
So I didn't know it. I go, I think your thought process would work well if your mom and I ended up there. And I think that would probably be the right feeling. And she was like, it just gave her something to think about,
yes.
And we were okay. I mean, we were good with it,
Yes.
but Tessa's my daughter that will call me on things. She does. Tessa, so
Yes.
It's good to be grounded every once in a while.
it is, and by that. So one of the things I did, you and I talked about just now, I didn't know that you were a pilot, and your son right now is a very successful pilot.
Man, he's awesome. Yeah, he's I can't say enough about him. I'm so proud of him. He's going through all of his classes. I think he just passed his instrument flight instructor, and he's 20 years old. So he knows what he's going to do. Yeah, he knows the stuff.
So he's going to tune you up on flying.
Yeah, exactly. Which is nice because I'm not current, and I'm going to finally get a payoff from all of his college stuff. And
Pre-production, these guys are both talking about their flying experiences of not flying. Like I have flying experience of sitting down, eating nuts and apple juice. they're talking about them flying the planes and all these problems that have happened to them. And I'm like, and they're talking about the excitement of it. And I'm like, I'm never going to fly ever in life, ever.
At least not with us.
No, it's terrifying stories. But it's cool to hear that they have experience actually flying a plane. It blew my mind.
Well, we're going to have a guest on here in June. His name's John Haddad.
Yeah.
And John was flying with me that day. We're flying separate planes on that day. And John and I'll probably talk about that day.
Whole different world right there, man.
Yeah.
We had a very, very harrowing experience.
Someone was watching out for us those days.
When we were both believers at the time. And the minute we both were able to land, mine was rougher than his, and we got out and we prayed because we were both believers at the time, and God was definitely watching over us that day.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's great when you have beautiful weather and you're flying and everything's great. There again we have Matt Daglish, who's corporate pilot for the wonderful company, and I always talk about that, but those aren't always the conditions.
Yes.
Not so much.
No, they aren't. So what else, Bart? That would you have an advice for guys out there? One of the things I like about you and my relationship is the first time that, remember, I can say this because you and I go back. I invited Bart to a Bible study. Remember that?
I'm trying to. Yeah.
And you said you're busy.
I think I ended up going a couple.
No. I asked you probably a couple more times, and you said you're busy. And then one day I was doing some squats. I remember you walked over and you go, Tom, what time is that Bible study? And I remember stopping. I go, okay, Bart, why would you want to come? He goes, I think I have to. I think I need to. And I remember those words too. And then you came for a year, and we had the pandemic.
Yeah, unfortunately, the pandemic kind of put a hold on the whole Starbucks thing. But
we're coming to Bible studies, and I think your words were like, I think God's moving in my life, and I need to do something.
Start listening to him. He knows what he's talking about.
Oh boy, he does.
That's another word. Don't give up when you're inviting someone. Just keep going.
I did.
Yeah, I was like a little woodpecker on my chicken. Finally, I gave in. I was like, hey, that's awesome. And now, I mean, that was awesome. I look forward to it every Tuesday morning.
Well, it's so interesting because I did invite Bart, and then he showed up. Remember, you showed up a week early?
Oh, I did. That's right. I was so jazzed about it. I was like, what is? Oh, we're not starting until next week.
Well, he called me. He goes, hey, are we all here? I go, oh, it starts next week.
I still have my Bible. I still did it, I think. So.
But there again, there's certain times.
Yeah.
Because, as I just said, hey, gotta go Bible study. Then Bart's like, I want to go. And he showed up, and it was pretty cool. We had a great time. Great time.
In our men's Bible study, there's a guy who went to like the first 3, and he hasn't been since. And it's been like a year now. And he's still in the group chat. I refuse to remove him. So one day I'm just hoping he looks at it and just shows up. So I'm currently on that grind right now.
Don't give up.
I had a guy who was going to a Bible study, and then he moved out of town. He's in Montana. He's a ranger, and he came back and just showed up. So I just want to see if you guys are still meeting, and we still were meeting.
That's cool.
Same place, same Starbucks.
Consistency
is a key. It is. Any last things that you want to leave our audience with, Bart?
Just believing God has a reason for everything.
He does.
I mean, wow. I mean, things he's done, and now I look back on it. It's just, it's amazing. Yeah, it feels good.
Well, tell our audience how they can get a hold of you. Prestige Real Estate.
Prestige properties. Boy,
That's right.
My cell phone is probably the best. So, or
you can give it
my name, Prestige at Gmail. So
there you
you
go.
can email me there.
I love it.
All right.
Well, next week, I think our chiropractor friend Kurt Collins is with us next week. I'm pretty sure.
You're getting all the tall guys.
We are.
I think he puts me to shame.
But I do think Kurt is chiming in today, and Kurt Collins next week, chiropractor, and got a lot of cool things because he's helped me with stem cells actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He started that.
Yeah, he started in that, and so look forward to our guest. Want to say anything?
That's about it. Thank you guys for watching. You can contact me at jgreer@vbf.org. Tom,
Pastor Tom at vbf.org. Thank you for tuning in.
You have any questions? Send them in. Send them in to Prestige. Let us know. But thanks for watching. Like and share with your friends. This was Lunch Break.